All right, here's a question for you.
Okay.
How do you do chases in D&D 5e?
I have no idea.
John?
We tried in the Salt Marsh campaign, and it basically was 2 crews and boats circling around each other with one of the boats firing on the other the entire time, and it got really boring and anticlimactic.
I don't think that in D&D 5e, and if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me, that there are any specific mentions of a chase mechanic in
I don't think I've
5e,
ever seen a chase.
which
just
only
speed.
leaves you to, what are the characters' speeds. And if, you got 30 feet and you've got 40 feet and you're chasing him,
There's
then
dash and
you got the dash action. Certain other features allow you to extra dashes. You would just have to rely on those things and see how it flowed out.
because you play most of those on maps with like things.
Right. So you're going to need a really long scrolling battle map. If you do it in Theater of the Mind, then it's just a math problem.
Yeah.
John can move 30 and took the dash of 60. Emily can move 40. She takes the dash. She catches up with him. But you've both dashed, so you have no action. So great.
Great. You're standing next to each other, staring at each other.
So it's a little... leaves some to be desired. I didn't even know there was something to be desired.
I didn't know what I needed
until
until it
it
was
that
put in front of me.
had a chase mechanic. So in Call of Cthulhu, the chase mechanic is basically you set up this chase scene and use like waypoints, from here to here, from here to there, and then you can, in between waypoints, you can put obstacles or barriers that would require skill rolls to get after. And then instead of figuring out, well, you move 30 and you move 40, it's a quick calculation at the beginning, which sounds a little crunchy, but once you do it once, you don't have to think about it the rest of the chase. And that is, what's your move, what's your dexterity, and we just compare everybody's to everybody else's, and whoever's got the best one is, or whoever's got the worst moves at a 1, and if you're better than that, you move at a 2, and if you're really better than that, you move at a 3. And,
right.
And then boom, okay, set that aside. That's your movement rates, and then you just follow this little waypoint map with obstacles and barriers to move through it. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Took us a session or two of trying it out to get decent at it.
But we got there like there was a dog chasing us.
Yeah, you hear him baying at your window. Then Savage World. I think we did a chase scene in
the boat chase.
We did a boat chase in Street.
I loved that.
That was a good
Not
one.
just like the aesthetic of a boat chase, which was pretty fucking epic, but I loved the mechanic.
That one's pretty cool. You know how Savage World loves playing cards, right? So basically you lay out a series of playing cards, and they essentially mark the waypoints that we were talking about. You're moving from card.
Yeah.
You figure out starting position by, the storyline. How much of a head start did they get? And then you have certain actions you can use in a case, right? And one of the action could be just to try to gain on that person, or you could just try to stay even with them, shoot and gain, right? And I failed to use it in the Street Wolves one, but the suits of the cards might present complications in the chase. And I didn't put it in there. I was a little nervous about just doing this chase mechanic for the first time. That was pretty cool. I liked it a lot. I'm not sure yet whether I prefer Call of Cthulhu or Savage World mechanic. For ease, I liked Savage Worlds because it's lay down some cards. In Call of Cthulhu, I had to draw out a map of what are the likely waypoints, up to the creek, over the creek, down to the log,
Yeah.
You don't have to do any of that. Lay out some cards in Savage World and then play it out and role play it. And
And it gives you a little randomness if you do use the complications or whatever. This is what happens when they get to this card or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
And I know that with the one we did in Street Wolves that it was very much so like, vehicle to vehicle. But I love the mechanic of being able to like get on the same card and ram them or move a card ahead and slow them down. And that was super fun. Like the different maneuvers you could do in the chase. I loved that. I don't know. For some reason, like the card system, it made more sense in my head than the waypoint, even though I understand how they are parallel. Something about the card system, like laid out, really helped.
The card system plays much better theater of the mind. The Cthulhu waypoint map really feels like it plays better on a battle map.
I think you could do the cards on a battle map too. You just have to kind of ignore everything around the cards. I don't know. I mean, there's probably a way to do it well, but it'd probably take a ton of time to get something environmentally nice to
I
do
think
it
just
on.
because we had spent so much time doing theater of the mind and my mind had kind of built up what this scene looked at. Like having cards that did not detract, like there wasn't a map to follow waypoints on. Having the cards, my brain was able to fill in the.
It was just epic. I
It was fucking
I can
brilliant.
still hit rewind and replay the movie that was made in my head when you guys were chasing the boat on the Wave Runner.
I love that. The water spray up into the
And the
sunlight.
way battery was always
Sexy.
missing low, and you had to wonder, like, is he that bad of a shot? But what he was trying to do was
Take
sink
out the
the
motor.
boat without killing the people because he needed
Yeah.
to get them back.
I kind of cut on to that, and that's why I was shooting at the engine when I had shots to try to
Yeah, and
disable their engine.
I had moved up ahead to try to slow him down from the front. Like it was one of those like times where like
You could picture it all in your
you could
head.
picture it, but the battle mechanic did not get weighed down. It felt very organic and
Didn't get in the way of the story.
it felt like it added to what we were trying to do and not that it weighed us down and it's like, okay, I'm moving to it. Like it was so good. It played out so well. And I'm not saying it's gonna do that every time, but in that instance, it was epic. I don't know that we'll ever have something quite as good as that boat chase.
So EV just gave me an idea for what could be an epic car chase. He puts the cards down on the road.
Yeah.
And then uses car icons on the road. So like on roll 20, you could lay out cards.
That would be cool.
Or on a tabletop.
I was gonna say, because I got a lot of Hot Wheels cars.
Right.
Little Hot Wheels cars.
Do you have a Remorian?
No, I have a Jack Skellington hot rod.
Oh, nice.
A Yoshi dump truck.
I do. It's a tow truck.
It's a tow truck.
A Yoshi tow truck. And a Bullet Bill car. They had like a whole Mario series of. Now I had to buy them all because I had to get John the Yoshi one because John loves everything Yoshi.
I'm not going to talk about the putting car icons on the roads because you might have a spoiler for Thursday.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I have been looking into the chase mechanics for Savage Worlds lately in preparation for that because I've been like deep diving in the book the past few days. And
he's had his nose in an iPad in that PDF
I
file.
have to look. It's funny, John. You sent me that text the other day, and you said it's on page whatever. My book is open right here next to me. Still is. And I looked over, and I was on that page that you just. And so I had been looking up the same thing. Like, what is the deal with rate of fire and 3-round bursts, and trying to figure out how those mechanics jive? I think I've come to the realization it's just smarter to do rate of fire 3.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're talking.
We can talk more about that later.
Didn't you have a?
I did get us off the track.
Yeah,
We're on
didn't you have
chases.
Didn't you have a tweet from Carrie about?
Yeah,
chases?
so it's interesting because we had this as a potential topic, and then today, Carrie Smith of Crossroad Games of Deadlands fame and now Last Chronicles fame.
Yeah.
Check out.
Can you see it? There it is. Look at that awesome merch.
She's also doing Titan Effect this Friday.
Yeah.
Well, she's already done Titan Effect, but it's airing this Friday.
Yeah.
They recently, and they haven't aired it yet, she did a
Street Wolves.
Street Wolves.
I've been seeing the pictures from that too.
Yeah, I'm really interested in watching that when it hits YouTube. So she tweeted, I ran Street Wolves, and I want to talk about how I run a chase sequence in Savage World. I enjoy the chase mechanics, and I think they're cool in other actual plays, but they just don't fit my style. So for those of you who haven't seen, Harry's play is very story role play. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some great combat and some scary shit that goes on there, but she would rather go light on rules and heavy on story. So if there's ever a point where the rules are going to get in the way of her story, she's going to lean towards story. So here's what she said. To begin with, she only draws the amount of cards equal to the parties involved, the good guys and the bad guys. So 2 cards. Whichever card is higher, that group gets the upper hand to act first in the chase. If the players get the high card and they can take their actions together, they may be supporting, driving, attacking, all of those things you were talking about of actions you could do in a chase. And their actions happen before the bad guys go. If the bad guys get the upper hand or the high card, they roll on the chase complication table, and those bad guys get to advance on you or presumably away from you. Then draw again for the next round of the chase and repeat for as long as the chase is continuing. So breaking it down, draw action cards for each group. High cards group goes first. If enemies get the high card, players roll on the complication table. If the players get the high card, they can attempt to force a complication on the enemies to encounter, and then rinse and repeat. Very scaled down. Scott, I really like the part where if the bad guys draw first, they get to throw a complication at you instead of waiting to see did you land on a club or did something else drive a complication. What do you think of those?
I think it sounds very cool, and I think for her play style, since we've played with her, that it definitely makes sense for her play style. I do like the way that we did it, but I would be interested in trying it that way. I can see why she has, that they get to throw, because she, pared down the cards to just 1 and 2. So you don't really have all those extra suits to decide complications and things like that. So I like that. And it kind of like she gives the wild cards that extra bit of oomph, almost like how they get the Benny pool and thing like that. They get a complication right off to use. I like it. I think it's cool.
I think I will be using the default Savage Worlds one at least once or twice to get to know it that way, but I also would like to try it at some point, especially if you've got a more time constrained portion of time for a chase. It sounds like it would work a lot better for that because you kind of dictated in there. You don't put out a set number of cards. You decide how many rounds you want it to go. And whenever it ends, it ends.
Right.
I thought that was a pretty good notion.
I like it. I like it because it's streamlined, much more.
Anything to take the chunky
out. Less mechanics to the mechanic, if that makes any sense. So I think there are times when, based on the story we are telling and we're playing, that I would want to pull that out and do that. And then there are other times, based on the story and what's going on in the time frame, that I'd want the full blown one, because I would not want to not experience that wonderful boat chase. Just the way it happened. But I could see where, because of the storyline, and I didn't want to get bogged down in a chase when I really wanted us to get to something other things, that I would use that. And I think it would be very helpful to have that in your back pocket, and you choose which one is right for the system. More involved one or the less involved.
I think if the chase is part of a climax of some sort, you got to do it the long form way. But if it's more of a, sometimes we've had chase scenes happen just inadvertently, like
the kids ran off with the candy.
Right, kids ran off with the candy, and John's like, "I'm gonna chase him," and you're like, "Okay, I guess we chased the kids."
That was our very first chasing.
It was.
He was bullying the other little kid. You keep bringing this up like I just like to beat up little kids, but he was bullying the other little kid, and that wasn't gonna happen on my street.
That's true. How many times did you chase teenagers in that game?
Once. You killed a teenager in that game.
Did I kill a teenager?
That was Blackwater Creek.
Did I kill a teenager?
Not in that game. You killed one in Crimson Letters. And I think you shot another one a couple of times.
They were college students.
This is
Very
hardly a
possible that they were
teenager.
18 or 19. No, I think he's got you there.
Ugh.
And besides, of the three people at this table, only one of us has done absolutely cold-blooded murder, and that was you and Bridget's game.
It was, and it was great. But I think if it's just a circumstance that you happen to have a chase scenes, the short form way makes sense because you're not getting too bogged down in the mechanics. But if it's the climactic scene and you want to give people the option to have these maneuvers and really get into it and role play through that experience, you'd have to do the long form way.
Like if the chase scene is going to be an entire act,
Like
then
the boat
you want to
scene was.
have the long form.
You see, you got an answer for your.
PV has decided to play mediator here, and he says, "Let's not point out who killed what teenager. We've all made mistakes. We have." So here's one thing I want to point out about the modified rule set that Carrie proposed. I've said a couple times on stream that Carrie runs rules light.
Yep.
Sometimes people hear that and they think, "Oh, well, it's just they're hardly even playing the game." This points out the fact that it's not that she just runs rules light. She is deliberate and calculating about what she's doing, right? She looked at the rules. She came up with a way of doing it that fit her style. It was not just, I'm ignoring rules. That's not what I mean when I say she plays rules light.
I was laughing unrelated. I was laughing at chat. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you with laughing.
Clay's here for John's chaotic sense of justice.
That's why I married him.
Right.
It's been persistent throughout all of our games.
But she definitely focuses on the ambiance of the story.
And so well.
I mean, it was an absolute joy. I absolutely love it. And then, you've got people that play on the opposite side where we want to do the mechanics and we want to get down into flanking and I want to have shots of opportunity and this other shit going on. And it's kind of however you want to play. But I love chase scenes when they're done well and they feel like they benefit the situation. Like, I just don't know that we'll ever beat that boat chase. I just don't know that in my mind you will ever quite get that good. I feel like we did that so well on like the first attempt of that.
So reading through the Jumpstart adventure, and you read about that house, and it says there's a speedboat tied up out back and a couple of wave runners, and I'm like, PV's daring us to have a boat chase, and damn it, you know what it's like when I get a dare.
Just, I gotta do it. Hey, Pancho.
So, chase rules. I really think they're great. I love them in Call of Cthulhu. I love them in Savage World, and I'm absolutely dying to try Harry's version of the Savage Worlds one, and
definitely,
finding out some of the other ones, and then finding a way to take some of that mechanical stuff we've learned and make a compelling chase home brew rule for our D&D game.
Yeah,
because just tell me what you're moving, 30 feet or 40 feet or 50. Just nothing there for me.
Yeah,